There was once a king in Israel, and he was the king that the people had always been waiting for. He was the king after God's own heart. But later in that king's rule, his power seemed to begin to get to his own head. And there was an opportunity for him to send his armies away while he was able to retreat safely into his own palace. And one afternoon, while he was alone on the rooftop, he looked and he saw a woman bathing on that rooftop, on another rooftop. And he summoned that woman into his bed and raped her. And that same king, after impregnating that woman, tried to cover it up by calling that woman's husband back to Jerusalem, that he might sleep with her and cover up the fact that he unjustly and sinfully raped her. That righteous man, that husband of Bathsheba, refused, and David in his anger sent him back into war and made sure that he would be killed in battle, thus murdering him. That king, of course, was David, and God in his infinite goodness had mercy on that king, and we read about this interaction in Psalm 51, where we read, "Have mercy on me, O God, according to your steadfast love." This week we're going to think together about the word mercy. And I think it's an important word because I think mercy and grace, they're gospel words, they're Bible words that I think we take for granted. Over time, we use them so much that I think they begin to lose their significance to us. But let's be thoughtful about the word mercy for a moment today. Mercy is not getting what we rightly deserve. It's God withholding from us the wrath, the condemnation, the punishment, and the judgment that we deserve. This becomes clear later on in the psalm when in verse 9 David cries out to God and asks him to hide his face from his sins. Don't punish me according to my sins. Blot out my iniquities. Cast me not away from your presence. Don't do what I deserve to me, O Lord. It's mercy. Grace, on the other hand, is the concept where we are given what we don't deserve. We're lavished God's righteousness through faith upon us. We are given favor from God. We're credited with God's riches at Christ's expense. That's grace. But mercy is to be withheld what we do deserve, rightly, hell and punishment and judgment. And this does create a problem for us in Scripture because God is holy and righteous and just, and he needs to punish sin. When an affront comes against God, it ignites his holy wrath, and that wrath, if God's going to maintain his justice, must be punished. But in Romans chapter 3, this glorious gospel passage, it says that God had passed over former sins, which we read about here in Psalm 51, and that narrative from 2 Samuel in David's life, where he raped an innocent woman and murdered her husband, and God passed over his sins. What kind of God is this? What kind of judge would act this way? But in Romans 3, it says that God became the just justifier of all who have faith in Jesus Christ. The mercy that David received was just because of the wrath that Christ received. In other words, all who have faith in Jesus Christ receive his righteousness because he, out of an act of faithfulness, was credited with our sinfulness. This is why God can be just and merciful, holy and forgiving. Mercy. Mercy is a wonderful word, and it's a word that we should think deeply about as we go about our weeks, and I pray that you will. Grace and peace to you.